Welcome to this month's Geek Out. This one is called Never Mind, It's Fixed. Why don't we bring up the slide here real quick if we can. You don't want to look at our faces, at least the face for radio thing, at least where I'm concerned. Brian's far more photogenic than I am. So it's called Never Mind, It's Fixed with our host, Brian Hardy. I'll introduce Brian here in a second. This particular creation by our graphic designer, Matt, is pretty awesome. And it depicts a very famous album cover that many of you may know. And I wanted to ask you, bonus trivia here. This wasn't planned, but who's the first person that can tell me what the denomination of the bill was that the baby was chasing in the original album cover? It wasn't a Tintri logo, I know. But who can tell me what the denomination? Everybody's like Googling it now because they don't remember what the denomination of the bill was.
Got it.
Ryan
Steve.
got it first. $1. That's correct. It was a dollar bill. Excellent. Baby figured be more motivated to go chase a 50 or something. I don't know. Whatever. But anyway, so this album cover is part of our Data Disruptor World Tour theme, where we're doing kind of music-ish themes for stuff, which is kind of fun. And I actually was in college when this album came out, so wasn't a huge grunge guy. But it's funny, the host here, Brian Hardy, he's about the least grungy guy that I know. So it was kind of funny how we picked this particular album cover for this particular session. But anyway, so we're going to call Never Mind, It's Fixed. And we're going to be talking about different strategies for data protection and so forth. So we'll get into that in a second. I'll let Brian introduce himself just in a moment. But I did want to take care of a couple of housekeeping items. So first of all, as most of you may know that tune in a lot, we do give away a pretty nice little prize for those people who join us. We do a random drawing for one of these little guys, and I'll reach over and pull him up. So a really cool Nintendo Switch. See, look, it even turns on. Cool, right? But it's branded on the back. And I know some of you folks have already won one. I noticed a couple names that have been with us a few times in the past. So watch your email after this is over. Make sure it doesn't go in your spam filter if we do choose you. We will have a couple of questions a little bit later to get an extra entry, so pay close attention to those. And with that, let me introduce today's host, formerly a New Yorker who's going to try to speak like a Floridian today and be a little bit more enunciated and slow, unlike most New Yorkers that I know. But anyway, so let me introduce everybody to Brian Hardy. Brian, take it away.
Oh, thanks for the nice introduction, Steve. Again, my name is Brian Hardy. Like Steve said, I'm originally from New York, but I've been out of New York more than I've been in New York. But sometimes, see, I said New York, it came out of me. So I'll make sure to, like you said, pronunciate everything good. The funny thing about me, we talking about data protection here. Actually, I'm going to date myself. My first data protection job was like 1988. I was working for a Swiss bank called Credit Lyonnais on Wall Street, and all I did was run backups every night. Like I came in 3 o'clock and left 11, and I ran backup on their systems. And I have a good quick trivia question and see if anybody can know this. Back in the 80s, what type of devices or what kind of backup medium was used to back up environments and for data protection type things? I want to see if anybody can guess this, because most of y'all probably wasn't born yet.
Unfortunately, I don't fit into that category, but I think some of the people here, it probably fits their description. Yeah. So
we'll give that a few minutes.
I was
And
graduating
there
high
is
school.
a poll question up on the screen.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. So let's see. Let's give another few seconds here and have people answer. Go mainframe computing. Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely. Thanks, Nicholas.
So the hint was we used digital fax machines back then, so they was basically those big fax machines. How do I still remember that? I don't know.
So what were the results? Let's see. So 53% of you said magnetic tape. So what do you think, Brian? Is that right?
That is correct. Magnetic tapes, so they used to call them reel-to-reel tapes, just like the ones they use in like movie theaters. That's what I had to do every night. I had to actually sit there, load the tapes into the Honeywell machines, format them, and then basically run a command on the VAX machine to actually do the backups and then store them. So this is a quick little poll questions of how far we went from what when we're going to show you today and how Tintri handled things of how we had to do backups back in the Stone Ages, I'm going to call it, in the 80s. Yep, that actually happened a lot, Steve. But that was the fun part about doing that back then. And I didn't even know what I was doing back then. I didn't even know I was an IT guy. I was just a little kid growing up in New York, and it was one of my first jobs. So I just took it. I didn't really take advantage of anything that I learned there, by the way. So can you go next slide? So what's the agenda today? Today we're going to be talking about, this is a data protection theme, and one of the first things that comes up is ransomware attacks. We're going to talk a little bit about that and how Tintri VMstore can be used to do some of those quick recovery operations from when you get attacked by ransomware. We are not the ransomware attacker. If it's by the time it reaches the storage device or a Tintri device, it's probably already spread it into your environment. But we're going to show you how we do quick recovery operations and how we take advantage of that. We're also going to talk about one of our new security features that exists inside something called GlassDB, which I'm going to talk about a little bit more. We're also going to talk about Tintri remote vCP plugin and show you what you can use with that. I know we had another Geek Out not too long ago that went over that, but we're going to reiterate why it's so good to actually utilize the vCP. We're going to do how we tackle disaster recovery planning with our service groups and stuff like that, and talk a little bit of how we use the AI-driven and visibility and automation and machine learning to try to figure out what the IO characteristics of any managed object that we protect and how we self-optimize and do some of that. I'm going to demo all that, and I'm going to demo most of the stuff for you too. So next slides. So this is one of the things that most people don't know when it comes to ransomware. I just wanted to point it out. There actually is something called ransomware as a service. People think there's like backup as a service, disaster recovery as a service, but somebody actually came up with ransomware as a service. And basically what that is basically they have people that they call like affiliates that actually write the ransomware toolkits. And then what they do is they just lease them out to individuals, like it could be me or you, or it can be mom down the block who wants to do some type of nefarious actions to individuals to try to make money. And again, the second thing is that the person that are actually running these things, they have to have no technical skills or and they really don't have to do anything. They basically got to get instructions on how to launch specific attacks, either using social engineering or phishing or any way they want to do the initial launch point to actually attack a company. So I just wanted to point that out. It's basically a low-end fruit that a lot of people are doing, and they use some of the basic and well-known toolkits that people use to actually break into people's environments and ransomware. And it's just something I want to know people out. So take very full advantage of those security things that everybody training that everybody gets every year. I know we get them every year. They are very important because those are the first way that people actually get into people's environment is through that social engineering and stuff like that. So next slide. Oh, so one of the things I want to show you, and I'm going to actually demo this, is we have a process called SyncVM. It's actually one of our software features that exists within the VM store. And it's basically, I think of it as like TiVo for storage. It basically gives you the ability to do any kind of recovery operation anywhere in the VMware snapshot timeline. It can be a snapshot that was 2 weeks ago. It could be a snapshot that was taken yesterday. It gives you the flexibility to actually recover from any one of those snapshots with the RPO close to zero. And when I mean close to zero, we run about 3 orchestration tasks, and it takes about 10 seconds to actually restore a whole VM, no matter what the size it is, because of the way we do with pointers and how our snapshots are small, space efficient, and immutable. And basically with no needed for additional storage or any of the refresh data with space. We do all that basically straight within our environment. And you can actually do it from our global control plane, which is called Tintri Global Center, or you can actually do it with the remote vCP plugin that I'm going to demo, doing it both ways so you can see how easy it is. So let's go to a live demo of that. Can I share my screen now? Thank you, Matt.
Yes, sir. You're good.
So while you're getting ready for that, Kathy mentioned her favorite part of backups was when the backup person reused the tape too many times and discovered when information was needed they couldn't recover.
Correct. And those are probably on LTO tapes back in the days, and that happened a lot with LTOs and when they first came out, which is kind of funny. So basically, I'm going to show you. I have this. I'm going to actually. I'm going to come here first. I'm going to actually simulate a ransomware attack so you can see how we do stuff like that. So basically, I have this folder on this one VM, and I just named it very important data because for right now, the data is very important to me. As you can see, they have some big files in it, and basically, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to simulate a ransomware attack. It's this little ransomware attack thing that we use just for demo purposes. It's, as you can see right here, everything is encrypted now. You see all these PSS files, and you get that little pop up, and then you say, "Oh, what did I do?" Normally, what you will have to do is then go back and look into your backup environment, try to find your last known good backup, and then go through the process of, mostly rehydrating data because most of the data is backed up and deduped somewhere. So you have to get whatever that medium is, you have to get that data back, and that can take you hours, sometimes weeks, and for some of our customers, months to actually recover everywhere. But let me show you how Tintri does that. And I'm going to show you right here first inside using the rVCP. And I'm also going to show you how to do it within Global Center. As you can see, this is the same VM I just did the ransomware attack on. And then basically, if you right click on it, you'll scroll on down, you'll see Tintri Actions. This is the remote VCP plugin right here. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. But right now, I'm just going to go to the Synchronize tab. That's where SyncVM lives. And then you are greeted with a couple of options. The first option I'm going to go over is Restore VM, which is I just want to recover the whole VM. Again, remember I said you can restore any recovery point in the snapshot timeline. You can use TGC to try to figure out when you might know when the last known good backup is by looking at the snapshots and looking at other things as it relates to metrics. So what's going on with if you see the IOTS went up and stuff, you can determine that by looking at TGC. But for this demo purposes, I'm just going to recover the snapshot that was earlier today. I click restore and click done. If you go to the bottom, you'll see those three orchestration steps I talked about, like power off an event, actually pointing to the pointers of the snapshot that I went to, and then when it comes back up, then VMware is going to actually reinitialize and see what's good. It's already finished. So if I go back to this page and I refresh the thing, it should be coming back up. And since the snapshot was crash consistent, you get this little pop-up because it was the crash consistent snapshot. And if I go back to the E drive, you'll see everything is back the way it was within like I said, the 10 seconds, which is very, very, very important. And nobody else can do anything like that. So it kind of makes recovering from a ransomware attack very fast and very efficient. And I'll tell a little story about this because I like to tell stories from time to time. I learned the best way to portray stuff is by telling stories. One of our customers got hit with a ransomware attack, and it was a VMware environment, but they didn't run Tintri in their whole environment. They had half Tintri and half another third-party vendor. They took only a couple of days to get back up within Tintri, but on the other side of the things, it took them weeks to a month to actually get everything back up, and so that shows you the power of SyncVM and how fast you can do those recovery operations. So again, for that same tab, one more thing I want to add is that when you ever do any kind of SyncVM operation, it's kind of cool, and I wish I had this back in my backup days, is that we take something called a SyncVM safety snapshot. And what that basically is a point-in-time snapshot before you run any other SyncVM processes. So you have a recovery point to the point if for some reason you made something worse or you did something wrong, you can recover back to that. And like, again, I said, I wish I had that back in my Exchange days when I was Exchange admin, because at one time a backup was sent to the wrong database, and then it just kind of like crashed the whole Exchange database. And I had to spend a whole weekend doing a recovery of it, then replaying the log files and rebuilding the Exchange database back up. It took me a weekend to get all that stuff, and that was just one Exchange server with one Exchange database on it. So if I had this, I could just easily just redo this one snapshot, and I'll have that point in time recovery before I did any one of those tasks, which I think is very cool. And like I said, when I was an admin, I wish I had it back in the days. Again, the same process can be done here on TGC. Basically, I would just go to the individual VM store where the actual object is. For us, we have multiple VM stores within our environment. I know the VM in question exists on VM store 1 is what we call it, which is right here. I can run those same actions I talked about before, which is restore VM. It looks a little bit different when you run it within VMstore. From TGC, you just basically select what snapshot you want. Remember, this is that same safety snapshot I just took, but I can do the same thing. I can take any snapshot and click the restore, and it'll work both same ways. So flexible, you can do any way you want to. If you want to stay within the vSphere client, you can do it there, or if you want to do all your management from TGC, you can do that from here. So that's what I liked about TGC. About SyncVM and our tools, that we give you the flexibility and option to do it wherever you feel like you have the best you want to do it at. Now that's one process of SyncVM. We also give you the ability to use SyncVM to actually do individual file level recovery operations, and I'm going to show you that quick. And I just got this clone machine up right here, and I just got disk management up, and you'll see a second reason why I have disk management up. But I'm gonna come here, and then I'm basically going to, wrong one. Go to Tintri actions on this, and do the same thing with the synchronization process. But this time, I want to do the guest OS file system right here, right? I'm going to take a snapshot from whenever again, and then I'm going to click restore. It's going to go through that same process as we do before, but I clicked so fast, I need to go back and show you something. It was an option to, what it's going to do is that it's going to actually mount the different vDisks to the actual VM that gives you the ability to then to drag and drop files from the individual vDisk to the place where you need to go to. But the option that I clicked so fast, I'm going to go back and show you again. It'll automatically detach those drives 48 hours after we do the process. So in case you forget to do it manually, we'll automatically go ahead and do that for you. And I'm going to show you that again in a second after I show you what happened. So if I refresh this, and you see down, you'll see the other disks that are in here. And so the only thing you really have to do is come here and make these online, and you'll see it. Like I just created the new boot drive for the C. So say if you only needed to do the binaries, you can then go to the H drive and open up the H drive and the E drive, and then you basically can drag and drop whatever you need in there. And you can do that for all the other drives in here, because all the vDisks will sit back here, and I can just bring them all online. So as you can see, there's a copy of every one of the drives, every one of the vDisks in here, and that gives you the ability to do file level recovery, and it gives you the option to go ahead and do that. And let me also go back and show you if you need to manually detach the disks, like I told you before. You come back here, and then there's an option right here that says detach virtual disk. You just click OK. You wait for it to do it in the background. It normally takes a few moments for you to do so.
I might have to click it again.
Normally I sit here and I wait and it comes back up. It'll come up in
Yeah.
a couple of seconds. There you go.
There we go.
So you click done, you come back over here, and then if I refresh this again, you'll see all those disks are now detached from the VM, and that's how we tackle doing quick file level recoveries between the environment. You can also refresh individual vDisks. I was just going to talk it over without actually doing it, because it's the exact same process. It's very good for the DevOps world. For example, say if you had a specific app that you just updated the SQL binaries, and you say if you just updated on the master, and you wanted to push it to individual clones or different clones that are part that are a different part in the development lifecycle, and you just want to push those SQL binaries out, you can actually use SyncVM to do the same thing. It's the exact same options, except for instead of doing the whole VM. I'll just walk you through it without actually do it. You say refresh virtual disk. The biggest thing you will have to need to know is you have to know the actual targets of the disks. You can look at that within VMware. So for example, if the master, the one you want to change was the E drive and you knew it was SCSI disk 1, in this case for me, you would just do that. So you basically put what you want to refresh from, which is the master, and what you want to refresh to, and you take a snapshot. I'm already on the clone that I want to refresh to. I know from doing this so many times that SCSI 1 is the same on both. So if I click refresh, it'll go ahead and refresh that individual VDIS to this is going to go down now because I did it. And you'll see that it'll just change it from version 3 to version 1, and that's what it actually does.
Yeah, I'll note that we did an entire geek out on that particular function. So if you look on our website, if you're curious about that feature, you can go back and check out that geek out we did a while back.
Correct.
I think it was called refreshment or something of that nature.
Yeah, and you also, I think you also did one called Recovery Lodge that we talked about that a little bit too about SyncVM.
Yeah, I think that was at VMworld last year.
Correct.
That we did that one. Yep. I don't think that one's live on the web. But there are some similar concepts in some other geek outs we've done in the past. By the way, for those of you on online, if you have questions for us, throw them up there, and I'll let Brian know that you asked a question, or just a funny comment. I love those too, as you know. There was one of them that was good a little minute ago here. Let me bring it back up again. Steve was saying he hated the reel-to-reels because they were constantly falling off the tape rack because the little clip that hung them broke.
Yep.
That's a good memory.
We had that too, except for to the point where they started having these little like storage bins that was specifically made for the reels, and we used to, when we did that, instead of hanging them, is we put them individually in storage bins that was labeled depending on the day and when we actually was going to do the backup. So we actually had, because I don't know if they ship them out like they do nowadays, what they do with tapes. We just had to label them and put them in specific baskets so we wouldn't do that thing, because when I first got there, they was falling off the wall.
So Steve said, you just hear a random bang in the tape storage room throughout the day. You know you're having a bad day when your tape storage room is creating noise. So, yeah.
So that was
Cool.
quickly SyncVM. There's a question. There's a polling question that you want to throw up for me, Matt, please, related to SyncVM.
So I think he might have to share his screen to do the poll. Oh, no, he doesn't. Okay,
Yeah.
never mind. Never mind. See what I did there? All right, looks like it's up. So the poll question is, do you use your SyncVM feature on your VMstore systems? Pick one. Yes, no, or I don't have a VMstore yet, with a smile, a frowny face.
Frowny face.
Yeah, I don't think we could do the official emojis in poll questions, but that's the old school approximation of a frowny face. So again, keep those questions coming. Keep the funny comments coming. We love those. All right, so what do we have on this one? 30% of you don't have a VM store yet. We got to change that.
Yeah.
So do you use SyncVM? So a lot of people do. That's great. So 11 of you
Cool.
do, 15 of you don't. Hopefully the 15 that have seen it now, you might want to think twice and maybe have to use it in the future. So very cool. And the 30% of you that don't have one yet, we need to take care of that. Get a hold of us. Okay. So that's poll number 2.
Okay. So Matt, can you bring the slides back up, please? Somebody said they couldn't get the image of having to do what I had to do back in the day of physically mounting the tapes, and yeah, that was my first job. So
That was grunt work for sure.
yeah. So I didn't need to know much because I didn't know nothing about IT at the age of 23, maybe. So that tells you how important I really was. Okay,
Well, those
so
are the
now
jobs you could get fresh out of college, right? I mean,
true.
yeah.
So we're going to talk about one of our security features that's being introduced. We have something called glass DP, which is a suite of security tools that we're going to start introducing into the VM store as we go forward. We have released one of them called Snapshot Locking, which I'm going to get into a little bit. But just a little trivia. I'm reading while I'm laughing at the same time. What Steve saying.
Don't get distracted. We'll deal with the chat in a little bit.
Okay, so we like to use Gaelic words for a lot of our nomenclature that we use for our products. Like Tintri is Gaelic for lightning, and Glass is Gaelic for lock. So Glass DP is locking, is what we first talk about, is considered lock for data protection, and that's what we're going to talk about now. Snapshot locking is just the first of many of those data protection features that we are looking to add into the Tintri ecosystem. We expect more tools and pipelines and improvements in functionality of snapshot locking and any other security features in the Tintri environment to come up real easily. Ransomware will consider to be a security threat, and one of the things they tell you how to combat ransomware is social engineering and multi-factor authentication, and our snapshot locking uses multi-factor authentication, which I'm going to go about in the next slide. And that's what we want to talk about first. This is just one of the first features as part of that security feature that we are adding to the VMstore environment, to Tintri. You have to run the latest OS, which right there, thank you, Matt, to take advantage of Tintri on snapshot locking, which is 5.6.0.1. You have to at least be on that and above to actually use the feature. It also requires TGC to be at the same level or above, 5.6.0.1 and above. So you can actually use that, and basically it allows Tintri objects. Remember, a managed object to us can be a SQL database, it could be a Kubernetes persistent volume, it can be a VM of any type, it could be a VDI desktop. That's what we consider a managed object. Anything that runs within the Tintri, you have the ability to lock the snapshots on individually on a schedule, and which I'm going to show you how you can easily set up in your environment right now. And you also have the ability to pause all snapshot deletions, but you only want to do that in case you are like maybe in a current ransomware type scenario where that you want to have more recovery points. You have the ability to actually go within the UI now, Tintri Global Center, and actually pause all snapshot deleting so you can have those recovery points. But be very careful when you do that, because if you leave it on like that and it stays for a long period of time and you don't have a snapshot deletion process no more, you can run out of space on your Tintri because of all the snapshots that are sitting there. So it's very situational. You only should use it in case you are combating a current ransomware type operation or something like that. The lock snapshots expire on schedule, as I'm saying, but you can pause that schedule, and then basically, and they only can be deleted by being escalated. And I'm going to talk more about the escalation and the two-factor authentication on the next slide. So there's two new security roles that we are adding to the RBAC side. We call them data protection admin and data protection. Go back one. Escalation admin, and basically you need two physical human logins to actually to do the unlocking of snapshots, which I'm going to demo in a little bit. The data protection admin is a role that gives the ability to set up the snapshot locking policy and also lock snapshots, but it cannot actually unlock a snapshot. You would need the data protection escalation admin to actually escalate those rights to the DP admin to then go to the process of actually unlocking lock snapshots, which didn't give you the ability to do that. And you can do that just in time. So for example, you say for this day, between these time frames, you have the ability to do that. You can set that, and I'll show you that in the demo. And then so this way you don't have to worry about coming back and forgetting that you escalated those steps to the DPA. You can actually just put a just in time and put a time frame for it in there. Again, only the DPA user can lock snapshots. The DPA user really doesn't have rights to do anything else but escalate. And that's what the only thing they can do. And snapshot expire and deleted as a normal retention unless you pause them, as I spoke about earlier. And we put that in there, but be aware because if you forget to unpause those snapshots over a long period of time, you can run into a situation where you fill up your VM store. So next slides, and I probably have to reshare my screen. If I can just demo a little bit this how it is.
Yeah, the good news is we'll notify you if and when you start filling up your system. We'll start throwing alerts at about 90%. So usually we can catch it in time. But it is an issue if you start pausing snapshots, or snapshot deletion, if you will. It can start to get full quickly, especially if you have a lot of churn. So something to be mindful of for sure.
So these are the two users right here. The new roles that we do is called DPA admin and DPA EA user. DPA admin, you create yourself and you add yourself to the DPA admin role. But the DPA user you cannot create, and I'll show you the reason why. And everything else, it gets automatically created when the DPA admin actually sets up the snapshot locking. So after those are set up, right, you come here and say you log in as DP admin, which I am not now, and I can't see because it's in the way. I'm logged in as myself. And so I won't be able to do anything. As you can see, I can't do no administration. I can't do anything related to setting or doing anything with this snapshot policy because I don't have the rights to do so. And I'll log in as DP admin so you can see some of the things. But so let me log myself out real quick. And just log myself as DP admin. If my keyboard catches up because the Bluetooth is kind of slow.
So Pamela said, my fun was loading a tape into tape drive and it breaking in the drive. Open the whole loader to get access and carefully remove it. That's not good. If you're an IT person and you have needle and nose pliers in your hands, it's not going to be a good day.
No, it's not. So basically, as you can see now, since I logged in with the data protection admin role or DP admin, which is part of that role, I have the ability to do some things now. As you can see, I have the ability to edit the snapshot locking policy. And imagine if this wasn't enabled, we already got enabled in the lag. As soon as I click this button and then tell what VM stores I want to enable this on, if you have multiple ones, you can do them all in your environment. It'll go ahead, and what it does is once you do that, it'll actually create the DPA user admin account that I showed you before. It'll create that automatically with a default password that you must change. So it does that automatically for you. And then once you set that up, as you can see, I can't do no escalation. I can lock a snapshot. So if I go to an actual managed object, I'll just go to one of the VM stores and I'll just go to like that same thing I've been working on all day today on one of those VMs that I have access to. Let me move this out of the way so I can see. So if I go to snapshots right here, as we have a new field in here called locked or not locked. I mean, it just says locked and it'll just say yes or no. As you can see, none of these snapshots are locked. But if I needed to lock one of these snapshots, since I'm logged in as DPN, I do have the ability to now lock this snapshot manually. Remember I said you can lock them individually or based off a schedule. This is how you will lock it individually if you wanted to. But as you can see, I have no ability to unlock the snapshots or unlock snapshots if I want to, because remember, you have to get those rights escalated to you at that one sign. So and the way the escalation works, so let me log in as the DPA user. If I can remember the password, which I didn't type in right.
It's important. Obfuscation is important. But when you're doing a demo, you want to make sure you have the right one.
And Steve, we've got a question in the chat as well from Philip.
Okay. Oh, sorry, I didn't have my Q&A window up. Sorry about that.
No worries.
You can answer it real quick. Why?
Does the functionality shown require additional licenses, or do software add-ons have to be purchased?
SyncVM is a software feature. That's an add-on, but snapshot locking, to my knowledge, is not. Steve, you can correct me on that.
Yeah, so 99.9% of the systems that we ship what we call the software suite. So these are all included in that software suite.
So Now, since I'm logged in with the role for data protection escalation admin, I'll show you what and why you will have to do that. So if I go back to the settings of here and go back to protection, you see now I have the ability to escalate to the data protection admin the right to unlock snapshots. So you need two humans that nobody should just use one person to do both of this. You should use two humans and two logins to do this, so that kind of protects yourself. And then if I click edit here, I then give the ability for the data admin, as I remember I told you can do just in time. So I can say, okay, only on the 30th, which is a day between the time of 2 p.m. and 3 p.m., you can go ahead and do this stuff. And then basically this will go ahead and do that for you. If I say save, this will escalate those permissions up to the user, and then they have the ability then to unlock snapshots. Remember, Tintri snapshots are already immutable, so they are only read-only. But this is just to protect us from any kind of nefarious ways of deleting snapshots off storage arrays. Like for somebody raised their hand. Filio raised their hand. I just see it up there.
That might have been from earlier.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So basically, our snapshots are immutable already. So this just gives us ability to lock them so that nothing during ransomware attack, no way our snapshots can be. It was a feature request asked for us, so we actually added it in there, and this is the way that we protect ourselves from ransomware.
And some of these attacks are inside jobs, right?
Correct.
So you want to make sure that if it's one individual, one bad actor, they can't get in there and do, completely catastrophic things like delete everything and kill all the snapshots, right? So it's a good way to catch that and make sure you've got a path to recovery, even if you have one bad actor. Now, if you have two bad actors, different issue. But one bad actor is not going to completely, bring you completely down. Keep sending those questions, guys. Appreciate all that. Yeah.
Okay, I'll stop sharing. That was snapshot locking. Can you reshare the presentation, please? Okay, so we showed you a little bit about the RVC, the remote VCP plugin tools and why you should use it. It's basically integrated into vSphere, and we also have a client plugin for Hyper-V also. But most people use VMware, so this is the ones that we use. But with the VCP or the remote VCP plugin, I'm going to show you. I showed you the synchronize field before, where we do all the SyncVM process, but you can do more than that. You can actually, straight from within vSphere client, do some TGC things like setting up protection schedules, taking manual snapshots. You can do the same thing like I showed you, recovering using those snapshots that you took. You can configure QoS, which we don't recommend, but there's cases because we self-optimize everything into our environment, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But you can configure QoS there too, in case for some reason it's a backup server that was running too much and using too much performance on the VMstore, and you needed to handle that. You can actually configure the QoS or curb it, which I'm going to show in a little bit of how you do that. As one of the things we can do with the things, how we can curb something down, and that's what you can do with that. So that's what the VCP does. And I'm trying to figure out anything else that you would like to add, Steve?
No, that covers it.
And Steve, we've got one more question.
I did. I was going to hold that until after this section.
Oh, you got it.
Yeah.
What's that question on?
Well, we can do it now if you like. So Lynn James writes, how should disaster recovery plans evolve to account for targeted attacks like ransomware or insider threats beyond typical hardware failures or outages?
Oh, that was a mouthful.
It was.
So say that one more time?
So how should the DR plans evolve to account for targeted attacks like ransomware or insider threats beyond typical hardware failures or outages?
That is a very good question. Something I would have to think about, because as I showed you earlier, ransomware attacks evolve from time to time. So even the things that we put in place, sometimes we have to look at and rechange from time to time. So basically, even the best played ransomware plans you put in place don't really do too much, because of the way social engineering work and the way that they can sneak into your environment. So the biggest thing is the recovery operation and how fast you can do that. And I don't know if I actually answered the question or not.
Yeah, I'll just add that redundancy is the key, right? So the typical 3-2-1 approach I think is a really good one. Having multiple copies of data in multiple places and multiple levels with multiple retention policies. I think just that's the best way to combat this. And then the second thing that I wanted to kind of bring into it was having that kind of two-factor authentication in place where one bad actor, if it's an inside job, is not going to be able to take you down catastrophically, right? So again, it's all about redundancy. So your balance of redundancy is going to be up to you in terms of what's right for your organization and your group or your estate. But having enough redundancy to make sense is going to be the key to answering that question. So.
And Brock put in there high frequency snapshots of your critical
That's
environment is
great point.
another way of doing that.
Yes, great point. So you keep that RPO down to as little as possible. Yes, but that has a cost too, right? It has a storage cost. So yeah, those all have to be weighed. So. And I think, so Mr. Producer Matt mentioned in the chat that we do have a talk-in series that's available on our website that I did with Antara, a ransomware recovery company, remediation firm. Really interesting discussion. That was a 3-part series. So if you guys are interested in geeking out on some of the concepts like air gapping and other things that help to alleviate in these kind of situations, especially you, Lynn, you might love that series. So I go check that out. The link is in the website or in the chat. Okay, back to you, Brian.
Okay. Right now, I just want to do a quick demo. That's what the next slide is, if I remember correctly. Just basically, I'm just going to demo some of this stuff for you. Should be logged back in as myself. And basically, we are here within vSphere, and this is where the remote plugin, actually the remote plugin exists other places. And basically, this is like the client plugins. You can see that it was a remote client plugin. It's actually it's containerized now. Our plugin is containerized. This is if you wanted to see if the plugin was installed or not. I just wanted to come in and show you. You can go here and you can see that we deployed the plugin. We actually have a whole guide on how to deploy the rVCP, which is very detailed, and it's not actually that hard to do so. In case how to update it and everything else, we all have that on our support website that gives you the ability to do all that stuff too. But real close, I'm just going to go back to any one of these and remember the different features. You have to come down to the Tintri plugin. Then when you click here, these are all the different things I tell you we can do straight from within vSphere using a remote VCP plugin. So you don't have to use Tintri Global Center to do that. Say if I wanted to take a snapshot right here, basically it's just going to ask me what do I want to name it. These are some of the things I put before. I'm just going to do before demo here. And it gives you the option if you want to make it crash consistent or VM consistent like you normally would. Just take a quick snapshot. I could just take a quick snapshot and then you'll see it added to the Tintri snapshots right here on the top part. If I ever refresh this over here, you can see that user generated snapshot right there and what I named it for the description. So one of the things you can do here, you also can gives you the ability to actually view the snapshots, which we're already seeing here, but I can actually see it in the window. It's just going to bring it up right here, but I was already where the Tintri snapshots were stored at. You can clone up machine if you want to. I'm gonna go through cloning, but basically you just put the clone in here, whatever you wanted to do it, what data store you want to put it. We have 2 data stores here that we could do it, what host cluster, just like you would clone anything else. You can actually do the cloning, and if you use the VAI plugin, which is the storage plugin for that, that cloning process would be run on the Tintri rather than having the extra processing done on your ESXi host. We can do that on the Tintris too if you actually install the VAI plugin too on top of that. Then also one of the other things we talked about is the protection schedule. The protection for is how often do we snap? When do we snap? How long do we keep a local and remote copy? And what kind of consistency you want to make it, either crash or application? You can actually set individual snapshot schedules here if you want to, or what most people do is they set it either at the service group level, which I'll talk about in a little bit later, or they can set it up as a process, as an overall process, as a protection schedule for the whole VM store also. But you can actually set that up individually here. And the last thing, more than anything else, is the QoS side of things. You can actually come in here and say, okay, what do I want the minimum and maximum IOPS that I want for a particular VM? You can set that here too. You also can set it in TGC, but like again, our system is set up to self-optimize, so we really don't recommend that you have to do this or you need to do this because, like I said, and I'm going to demonstrate in a little bit of how we do our self-optimization built into our environment, so you don't have to worry about doing this. That's one of the good things about owning a VM store is that we take a lot of this admin overhead out of your day-to-day activities, so you can focus on other stuff related to the company, like improving something or on working on other things within the country rather than being a storage admin all day.
So a really interesting question just came up. Philip, who has had some really good comments in the chat as well. I'll paraphrase those in a moment. But his question was, can TGC be run on dedicated hardware appliance to harden it against a complete VMware infrastructure compromise?
Currently in the state, TGC is a VM. I think we are looking to containerize that to make it deployable in other locations, in the cloud or other place where you can harden it. But right now it's run as a OVA file, and it's deployed via OVA file. So I don't think that, but that's on our roadmap to actually look at decoupling TGC where you don't have to run it in a VM store, so you can actually deploy it in other locations.
Yeah, so a couple options there. You can run it on a separate ESXi host. That's one way to do it. Another way to do it would be to use our Tintri Cloud platform, which is based on vCloud Director. So if you wanted to run it in a hosted environment, we have a really easy way to do that. So those of you who haven't seen Tintri Global Center, or sorry, Tintri Global Center, Tintri Cloud Platform, for those of you who haven't seen that, we did do a geek out on that one recently. And that allows you, no matter how big or small, to have a hosted environment where you could open up a firewall port and have that communication happen, or potentially have a VPN that goes there and run that offsite. So that might be one option that you may want to consider. Great question, though. Philip is very. He says he's lucky to have his Tintri. I agree with that.
Yeah.
But he was commenting about how these features are great. So we agree.
Yep, we agree. One of the other things we had on the agenda was talking about data protection planning and stuff like that, and how we attack that is basically via service groups. And then we go into TGC. Our service groups are used to, more than anything, is to keep managed objects consistent with one another. In this case, for disaster recovery planning and type, we like to where you can use asynchronous or synchronous replication to replicate between multiple data centers, so that you can have the ability to stand it up in case of a disaster recovery type scenario. And basically, a service group, I'll go into my service group for example, and I'm gonna go into the settings of my service group. As you can see, the service group is set up it has a protection schedule. Like again, how often do we want to take snapshots? How consistent we want to keep it. Also, as you can see, do I want to lock those snapshots? Because remember, you can set that up globally also. If I'm replicating anywhere, I'm using asynchronous replication here to another VM store. Our VM stores happen to be in the same data center, but most of our customers have their VM stores in different locations for business continuity and data protection planning. So you can do that also. Membership rules, and I'm gonna get a little bit more when you create a service group where that you can actually use membership rules or actual folder structures within vSphere to do this. But as you can see that you can set the membership rules. So say if you had an image for all your SQL environments and you wanted to be able to replicate those between the data environment, or you can use a vSphere tag when you create the object called SQL. If you wanted to put that as a tag, and as soon as you deploy that in that template, it gets added to your vSphere, and with that vSphere tag, it'll automatically get added to the service group. So you don't have to worry about manually adding it to that. It'll just take advantage of everything else you did in there with all these different settings, and that's kind of like, so you don't have to manually add objects into these service groups. So if you want to keep them consistent with one another. And the following thing, like I said, is QoS. I just set up QoS number in here just for purposes of just demonstrating to people about certain things. But again, you don't have to really do that. And the easiest way to create a service group and why you would do that, and you'll see the reason why we use service groups more than anything else. I'm just going to put a test here so that we can keep moving forward. So you get different options when you create service group. As you can see, one of the things that biggest thing is that we do it for is the for disaster recovery processes is to do asynchronous replication or synchronous replication. And the biggest difference is that with synchronous replication, we can do the automatic failover, but that's a little bit more thing because you got to add something called a witness survey in the mix. That's for a different discussion. And then as you got different options depending on where you want to do it, like this one is based on rules, which is I showed you before, or it can be based by a directory structure within vSphere or whatever hypervisor or whatever you're using. You can actually do it based off directory structure too. And so those are the reason why we use service groups, and that's how we do with our disaster recovery planning and stuff like that. And the last thing I'm going to exit this workflow we want to talk about is how we use AI and machine learning. Basically, we use AI and machine learning to look at the I/O workloads of specific managed objects in our environment. We're going to talk about VMs, and then the way we self-optimize and everything is we have something called performance reserves. So if I come to the overall thing, you'll see that we got 68% performance reserves in this environment. If you see that and it seems like you got a lot of performance reserves, that doesn't mean that the Tintri is underperforming or not using. We actually take advantage of everything on the Tintri as it relates to performance, and we use the full performance to the point, but we always keep reserve for self-optimization. Like say for something you had a VM that at nighttime you run a process that all of a sudden it needs more IO, it'll basically self-optimize itself and pulls from the performance reserve so that you don't have to worry about sitting there playing around with LUNs and adding more disks to them and stuff like that. We self-optimize and auto QoS everything in our environment. We basically use the AI and machine learning model to actually look at those workloads to figure all that out so that you don't have to worry about sitting there and self-optimizing it manually. And the auto QoS part is kind of cool as part of that. And I'll show you a little bit how you can see those on the metric side of things. Let me go to the VMstore. Move some of these windows out of my way. We have this little Tingle machine. It's just a machine that we use to automatically inflate IOPS into our Tintri arrays for testing performance when they new and stuff like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this up. I should have had two of these open at one time, but I'm just going to do it from here. And as you can see, it's using 38. The latency right here is not being throttled at all. Everything is cool. So if I actually go to the metrics of this, I need to have another window open. I'm gonna take the time to open it in a second, and I'll just look at the normalized IOPS. We use normalized IOPS because we normalize all our IOPS in 8K blocks into our environment. And latency, as you can see right here in some of the metrics that we got in a couple of it, it'll come up. You'll see all the historical ones on this side, and we actually do real-time analytics. We query the environment, and I think at a preset timeline. And then if you keep this open, you'll see the real time. I'm going to open up another window real quick. Of TGC so I can make a global change. So that one Tingle VM is in a service group. So any change I have to make to that environment have to be within the service group. So I know it's in the load generator one. So I'm going to just I'm just going to set some QoS metrics on it so you can see when I'm talking about how we actually automatically do that. As you can see, there's no QoS set. So it's going to self-optimize itself. I'm just going to bound it to use anywhere from 10,000 to 25,000 IOPS. Click save. And that should be doing that. We go back to the screen and we stay on the screen for a second. You're going to see that it's going to start being throttled because I'm telling it not to use what it wants to use. So you can see real time of how we do some of those metrics and those AI stuff. You can see right here, the throttling should be going up, and over here, the IOP should be going down. Let's give it one more second to back down one more, but this should go down to the 2500 range that I talk about in a second. And then from here, you'll see that we are starting to throttle the VM because as you can see, you're going to see some of the throttle metrics start going up. So that's one of the things we want to show you about the Tintris as it relates to trying to figure out what's going on and how you do things and planning that. You can see a lot of this stuff in real time. And it's easy to deduce what's going on. And you can see this is done drop to the 2500. I told it can use 25,000. And right now, if you hover over this, you'll see that right now we are throttling this VM, and that's what's happening. So that's all I really wanted to show you. Let me change that back because I need to.
Yeah, we got a couple of interesting comments in the chat here. Philip has really been a big contributor today. We appreciate that. Philip brought up a whole bunch of interesting things. If you want to see that, look in the chat. But essentially, what he's trying to do is harden TGC from kind of the rest of the VMware estate, which I think is very valid. Philip, we'd love to talk to you offline and figure out what the right solution is for you. Looks like TCP is not an option because of location, which is fine. We might have some interesting ideas. He says, I just want you to sell me more stuff. Well, I'd be happy to do that, Philip. That'd be great. No, in all seriousness, there are kind of a range of different things that we can do. And somebody suggested, I think it was Paul, running TGC as a SaaS service. That's a really interesting idea. I think we could do something similar to that with TCP if that's an option. But in terms of an offering of something that's more of a dedicated appliance, funny enough, we have our CTO on the line here today. He's watching this, so I'll bring it up to him afterwards as well, and we might be able to come up with something either custom or maybe part of our portfolio going down the road. Don't want to make any promises, but that's a really interesting idea. I hadn't really thought of that, so thank you for bringing that up. So Philip says he'll beta test it for free. Thank you, Philip. I appreciate that. All right, any other questions that we have? I think that's about it, and we're about 2 minutes left. So any closing comments, Brian?
No. Basically, more than anything, we're just trying to show you how us as a Tintri, as a company, we know a lot of this stuff happens as it relates to ransomware and stuff, and we just wanted to give our customers the ability to recover from them quickly and effectively, without the need for a lot of administrative and overhead, which is what Tintri's good for and well known for. Is we try to be less administrative focused more than anything else, and orchestration and the self-optimization and the way we do our quick recovery operations is what we wanted to show you, and how forward thinking we are thinking to our customers of adding more security features like snapshot locking, which is just one of the first ones that we added into our portfolio, because we always forward thinking about how more we can protect our customers. That's what I wanted to add real quick.
Perfect. Well, great job, Brian. Thank you. Awesome kind of overview of what we have on the data protection side. So thank you for that. Wanted to thank everybody for showing up today. We don't have our next Geek Out session locked down quite yet. See, lockdown. So we're using that terminology today. Don't have it set quite yet, but watch your email for that. We'll send out an announcement. It'll also be on our website, so check that too. If you got invited here by somebody else, let us know you want to be part of the mailing list, and we'll get you on the list to make sure that you're notified immediately about what's going on. And then most importantly, make sure you check your inbox for those of you who are on here live. And make sure that you may or may not have won the branded Switch. So I'd be happy to send that to you if you are selected. So with that, thank you, Brian. Thank you, everybody, for participating, and we will see you guys next time on Geek Out.
We should have ran some Commodore 64 out. People probably like that better.